Here at SAGA, we've been tracking the latest and greatest Porsches for the last few years. As time passes by, we have seen cars get faster and faster and prices have followed, getting higher and higher. This made me think, which car and what lap time would I settle for personally? Let's chat. When I open this topic, the first thing that comes to mind is our friend Jason's 2019 Camaro ZL1 non-1LE. It's a car that runs high 220s at COTA on 80 treadwear tires, and Jason simply has an amazing time with it. He gets out of the car, you could tell he's having a blast. From the factory, it produces 455 cores, and that's definitely enough to get anyone in trouble. A prime example of this car costs close to $60,000. It's a great car for those who want a hot rod. They can do suspension, aero, chassis mods at home, take it to the track, rev that American motor to the moon, all while feeling that red, white, and blue on the right pedal. Now let's consider about the car considered Germany's hot rod, the mid-engine Cayman GT4. The current generation 718 982 makes around 420 horsepower. This is Porsche's entry-level track car that currently sits around $140,000 US. This car currently sells for a little over MSRP, and I believe they are no longer in production. Just like the Camaro, this car needs aftermarket parts to be able to get the car to where it's fully adjustable. After that, the car is very capable of a quick lap at COTA. We have seen this generation car run mid to high 220s on streets and low 20s on sticky rubber like Who's Your R7s. Now, let's chat about its big brother that lives in its own world, the GT4 RS. This car has the same chassis and body, but comes with better shocks, more aero, and a 911 GT3 engine making 485 horsepower. This car is tire limited as the body and chassis does not allow enough tire to put 500 horsepower to the ground or to stop it either. At COTA, we have seen pro driver Randy Pobes set a high 18, and I've been able to get it down to the 19s with the same mods as his little brother. Even then, I believe it's capable of 217s on sticky rubber. Depending on the year and model, this car MSRPs anywhere from 220 to 240 with good luck getting it at MSRP. Most dealerships have a $50,000 markup. In that exact same price range lies Porsche's best all-around 911, the 992 GT3. This car averages the same prices as the GT4 RS. It's a car that is mega on track, but can be pretty tame on the street. This car sits in many people's track garage as the ultimate track weapon. With this car comes wider tires than the GT4 RS and the same engine, but this time cranked up to 500 horsepower and in a rear engine configuration. From the factory, this 911 comes adjustable and there is no need to add aftermarket parts to it. At COTA, this car produces lap time in a calm and steady way. We have seen people run 218s in the car with OEM tires. We've gotten close to the 219, and those who run them in stock-ish configuration and R7s have been in the 217s, and a 216 seems very possible. Current GT3 record stands at a 214, but that car was very modified and a manual too. The car nonetheless is quick, but it still requires you to be precise with your inputs. Unlike the GT4 platform, this car isn't nervous and unpredictable. The looks of this car are second to none, classy, but can lay the lap time. Moving on to the next price bracket is Porsche's current big dog, the 992 GT3 RS. Much like its little brother, it's fully adjustable from the factory and needs very little to set a flying lap around any track. This car currently retails for low 300s, but is usually marked up $150,000. That is, if you can get your hands on one. 520 horse, 860 kilos of downforce. This provides more lateral grip, and the wide body can fit massive amount of tire in the front and rear of the car. Now, we have run this car for only a few months, but have seen 216s at COTA on the OEM tires and 215s on sticky rubber. We believe there's more in it with better weather. So, I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, you only gain 1 second with sticky rubber. Yes, I was surprised too. I can only attribute this to the fact that the new OEM tires are just that good. Now, when I say track and Porsche in the same sentence, guess what car comes to mind? The current king of the ring, the GT2 RS, a 700 horsepower machine that is basically a 991.2 GT3 RS with 200 extra horsepower. This car is 200 pounds heavier than its Generation 3 RS, as it has to pack turbos and intercoolers. This extra weight is mostly located at the rear of the rear axle in a rear engine car. It compounds the problems a 911 already suffers from, having all that weight in the back. It's therefore a much more dynamic car to drive, and you have to keep in mind that due to the weight gain, it will be slower than the 3 RS of its time, but will make up for it and then some with that extra horsepower in the straights. The car is more unstable on the high-speed corners with that heavy rear, but puts the power down on corner exit. So what is this car capable of running at COTA on street tires? We don't know. Very little people are brave enough to drive this car on track at all. Conservatively, I can say this car should be able to run 218s on good street tires. This car wakes up and has big delta gain when you put sticky rubber on it. We have gone 213s at COTA, so it's still the Porsche King. This is a 6-year-old car we're talking about, which MSRP'd for low 300s at the time, and it still currently sells for a $100,000 markup. So it's more than obvious that the more you pay, the more you gain, and the faster you go. Although there is another way to do this. It would be to purchase the most expensive, even of entry-level car you can afford, while leaving room to modify your car with aero, suspension, and exhaust. There is definitely lap time to be gained in swapping these components out. If you want to see what it costs to prep the GT2 RS we just spoke about, click on the link below. You'll be surprised. Doing these mods is not cheap, but if you're a gearhead and enjoy modifying your car, this may be the route to go. If you paid attention to price versus lap time, you would have noticed that a big jump in price no longer gets you a big jump in lap time gain. The more expensive and capable the car, it will be easier to achieve fast lap times, but in my opinion, it's also easier to leave lap time on the table. At that point, that car is doing a lot for you, and if driver skill doesn't match car capability, it can lead to expensive repairs and eventually a crash. We have seen it with our own eyes. Speaking of expensive, I would like you to understand that the faster you go, the more expensive it gets. Kinetic energy is a function of mass and velocity. Since velocity is squared in the equation KE equals half mv squared, this means that the more weight and the faster you go, the more energy you will need to convert to thermal energy via the brakes to stop the car. You get where I'm going. The faster you go on track, the more you will wear through your brakes, tires, and suspension components. At COTA, once you go sub 215, you have to start thinking about multiple sets of tires, fresh pads almost every weekend, and the fact that you're going race car speeds in a street car. At this point, should a full-blown race car be considered? This is a very popular topic amongst all my friends. So, what car would Felix recommend? If you're new to the sport, GT4, as it is a car that has a ton of room for improvements and modifications. If you're an experienced driver that is seeking lap time but also driver development, 992 GT3. 992 GT3 has been removed off the configurator, but if Porsche does what they've done before, we should be seeing the .2 992 GT3 variant roll out of the assembly line in about 2 years. This car is the perfect balance of street and track, period. I also decided to leave the previous gen 911, GT3 and RS variants out of this because while they are amazing cars, most of them are out of warranty. The 991.1 and 991.2 platforms have proven to be robust and a pleasure to drive. But with an engine replacement costing around 60 to 80,000, this would be a tough pill to swallow. If you join us for track days, you will see a lot of these cars on track as they are more affordable and crazy capable. 991 generation cars run low 220s at COTA on street rubber and are easily sub 20 with racing rubber. The 991.1 GT3 is a softer sprung car that takes the track abuse and feels amazing over curbing. Current market price is around 140,000. That 3.8 sounds so good, and with the low amount of torque the car produces, you can drive that throttle like a switch, all on or all off. It's so much fun. Its big brother, the 991.1 GT3 RS, has my heart. I have done thousands and thousands of laps at COTA in this car, and it never skipped a beat. My best times and lap times have been with this chassis. They currently sell for about 180,000 and run about 2 seconds faster than their GT3 variant. Extracting that lap time for an inexperienced driver in this car has proven to be tough. Personally, it took me a while to beat my GT3 lap time in the 3 RS, and the simple answer was that it was too much car for my talent and experience at the time. Now, the 991.2 generation. These are about a second faster at COTA than their predecessors. These cars come with a slight body redesign, and while they keep the same suspension geometry, they come with updated shocks and more motorsports type bushings in the suspension arms. Both incredible cars, but it's obvious to everyone who drives them that they lack in giving the driver feedback through the wheel. but it still produces the lap time. Market value for the GT3 is around $175,000 and the 3RS still fetches a ton of money, sometimes around $992 GT3 prices. Unlike the $992 GT3, this car has a better presence on the road with the wide body and the tall wing. If you want to watch a direct comparison of these two, you can find a link in the description below. While more expensive does result in some lap time, that gain comes from the car's ability, not driver skill. So let us know what you think. Is it better to start with a less capable car and develop the skill, or get the best you can and go from there? Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.